Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest sleepers, some of the most undervalued players in all of fantasy football. You can get these guys at a good discounted price, and these players will help you win your fantasy football league, I promise you. But before we get into that, I just want to say, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been showing my last couple of videos, and I hope to continue that hot streak. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the list. I'm going to be giving two players for fantasy positions, so quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end. And these players who, looking at where their annual draft position is, I think is a good value. I think that you can get these players later in the draft and that they can be good quality players for you. I think their value highly outweighs their draft position. I think that they have either a breakout season coming up. I think maybe people are overlooking them. I think some people don't, fully understand how talented they are. A lot of combination of things for these guys. But obviously, this kind of goes without saying, there's no rookies on this list. And that's because, especially in dynasty leagues, rookies are pretty much always overvalued just because of their age and because, they were drafted. And so, they're going to be good. That's not always the case. So there's no rookies on this list. If you guys want, I could make a video on the rookies, but let me know what you guys think of this list. So we're going to hop right into it, starting off with quarterback. My first undervalued quarterback, Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith, he's currently going as the 24th drafted quarterback in annual draft position, and I think that is absolutely ridiculous. Listen, he's 32 years old. Last year, he was the number 5 quarterback in the entire NFL. And what has happened since then? Well, since then, he signed a 3-year extension with the Seahawks. The Seahawks have drafted the draft's best wide receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba. They also got him a running back in the second round. They also got him multiple offensive linemen in the draft. So his receiving core is better. His offensive line is better. His running game is a little bit better. He's under contract for 3 more years. I don't understand why people aren't more hyped about Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is an absolute steal. I have him in most of my leagues, and I'm very excited to see what he does. Now, last year, he was quarterback number 5. And again, Geno doesn't have the rushing upside that like a Justin Fields or a Lamar Jackson or any of those guys have. I get that. But especially if you're in a league where passing touchdowns are worth 6, Geno Smith is a guy that you really want to go get. Another quarterback that I think is undervalued a little bit is Derek Carr. Derek Carr is currently going as the number 23 quarterback, so kind of in that same range as Geno Smith. He's also 32 years old. Last year wasn't as good. He was the number 17 quarterback, but that was because of a few factors like, he got banged up a little bit. Jarrett Stidham played a few games, and he had Josh McDaniels, so it's a miracle he put up any fantasy points at all, to be honest with you. But now he goes to New Orleans. He's the guy. He's signed under contract for many years, and he's got a good group of receivers. They've got Chris Olave. Who knows if Michael Thomas is going to come back. He's got A.T. Perry, who I really like in the draft. I think that New Orleans has some good offensive pieces. There's also going to be another guy I talk about on this list that I think could help. I think New Orleans has some good offensive pieces. He's under contract for a while. Additionally, the one big thing for him that is not with his new team that he had with his last team, the division sucks. The NFC South sucks right now. And, when you're having to play Mahomes and the Broncos and the Chargers every year, twice a year, it kind of sucks. Now he's in the biggest cakewalk division in the entire NFL. So I think that this could be a big uptick in his fantasy value. Next, let's go for running backs. For running backs, this is maybe not as much of a value guy, but I think a guy that will go much higher than his draft position, or should go much higher than his draft position, and that's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is currently being drafted at running back 15 in redraft leagues. He's 27 years old, so you worry about that, age 30 barrier with running backs. But listen, last year he was the number 6 running back in the entire NFL. I think personally he's the best running back in the NFL. He's the best pure runner. And over the past few years, his fantasy value has been stumped a little bit by the addition of Kareem Hunt in the backfield. But Kareem Hunt is currently not a Cleveland Brown. He's a free agent, so I guess he could resign. But as of right now, he's not a Cleveland Brown. He's got Deshaun Watson coming in, who can hopefully get his shit together. They're going to rely on Nick Chubb a lot. I think he's going to increase his workload a lot in the passing game with the Browns wanting to pass the ball more with Deshaun Watson. So I think he's going to get a lot more PPR points. And obviously, he's going to rush for 1,000+ yards and probably at least 6 or 7 touchdowns. My next undervalued running back that I have in the draft is going to be A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon is kind of being drafted a lot lower than I think he should be. I've been seeing him low as like the 30s in redraft leagues, which is kind of crazy to me per running backs. He's only 25, guys, and he was the number 26 running back in the league last year. I think there's a lot of good combinations that are working in his favor right now. First of all, the Packers losing Aaron Rodgers, they're going to become a more run-heavy team. I think nobody is debating that, right? So automatically, uptick in his usage. Aaron Jones, who I really like personally, but I do think he's getting a little bit older. Aaron Jones, as a running back, his game is highly predicated on his elusiveness, and once he loses that step or two, maybe it's not this year, maybe it's 2024, 2025. But again, A.J. Dillon's young. He's going to be a running back in Green Bay for a while. He has a lot going for him. And I think his touchdown totals are going to increase as well. His rookie year, he had 2. His last 2 seasons, he's had 6. And I would not be surprised if you told me A.J. Dillon had a 10+ touchdown year this year for the Packers. I would be very excited. I would try to get A.J. Dillon if I were you guys. I think he's going to be a really good addition to your team. Now let's talk about the wide receivers. My first wide receiver that I think is undervalued is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is currently going as wide receiver number 33. He's 28 years old. Now, I get the hesitation with Calvin Ridley. I get it. He was suspended for a year. Didn't play a lot of 2021 as well. He's not old, but he's 28. That's not necessarily young. I get the hesitation. But here's the thing, guys. Calvin Ridley, when he was really good, like in 2020, when he was literally top 5 at his position in PPR, Calvin Ridley was fantastic. Now you're adding him to one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL in Trevor Lawrence. You're adding him to that pass-happy Jaguars offense. I think he's going to score touchdowns. I think he's going to get a lot of volume. I'm very excited to see what Calvin Ridley does in Jacksonville. My next quality wide receiver that I have that's underrated is going to be DJ Moore, the newly acquainted Bears wide receiver. Kind of same story to Calvin Ridley. He's being drafted as wide receiver 28. He is a couple years younger, though. He's 26, and he's under contract with the Bears for a while. So he's a good get, for the future as well. Listen, last year he was wide receiver number 24 with a plethora of quarterbacks that included Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, P.J. Walker. Nobody that we would really consider elite. And while Justin Fields definitely has some work to do with his arm, I think the fact that the Bears traded, in part, the number 1 overall pick for him, they clearly like him a lot, and they've been really wanting to address that receiver position. I think with some of the way that they can run the football there in Chicago, he's going to get some good looks, and he'll be able to win those one-on-ones. And people forget, but Justin Fields has a very underrated deep ball. So he did catch some bombs in Carolina, and I think he's going to catch some bombs in Chicago as well. And he's going to be a fixture of their offense for many years to come. Moving on to my tight ends, and this is a guy, you want to talk about a sleeper. This is a guy that I really, I'm going to pound the table for. I think he's the biggest sleeper in all fantasy football. I don't see anybody talking about him. I think that he could be great. I'm so excited for him. That is Juwan Johnson, the tight end from New Orleans. He's currently going as tight end number 30 in redraft leagues, which is kind of crazy to me because last year, with bad quarterback play, he was tight end number 15. He's only 26, so he's young. Juwan Johnson now has an upgraded quarterback with Derek Carr, a significant upgraded quarterback with Derek Carr. He's now certified tight end 1 in New Orleans, and he scored 7 touchdowns last year. I think he could be a 10-touchdown type of tight end. Wow, try saying that 5 times fast. He could be a 10-touchdown type of tight end, and he's going to get a lot more looks now that he's tight end 1 and that they're going to pass the ball more with Derek Carr. I'm very excited to see Juwan Johnson, what he does in fantasy this year, and I'm kind of upset that I dropped him at the end of last season in my main league. So, whatever. We'll get through that, I guess. By the way, if you guys watch TikTok at all, go watch him and his wife's TikTok account. They're fucking hilarious. Just a quick side note there. And then my last sleeper player and my last tight end, I'm going to talk about Irv Smith Jr. Now, Irv Smith Jr. is currently going as tight end number 38 in redraft leagues. He's only 24 years old, so he's young. If you guys remember, he was, I believe, a first-round pick out of Alabama for the Vikings. a while back. You know, now he goes to the Bengals. He's definitely entrenched as tight end number one. He's in that pass happy offense with Joe Burrow, a very significant upgrade at quarterback. I think the sky's the absolute limit for Irv Smith. Last year, he kind of got screwed over when the Vikings made that trade for TJ Hawkinson, and he was just kind of pushed to the side and wasn't, doing anything really. Now that he's in Cincinnati, I think that he can really show his true pass catching capabilities with Joe Burrow. And obviously, he's not going to be zoned in on because the defense has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to worry about. So I'm really excited to see what Irv Smith does. I think him and Juwan Johnson are going to be the most underrated tight ends in the draft. Let me know what you guys think. Who are some of your biggest sleepers in fantasy this year? I want you to let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know what you think of my list, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace out.